Jai Hind, everybody. So we are 2 minutes early. I think there's nothing wrong in starting. The actual meeting content will come a little later. So we are really fortunate today to have Jim Channan, a very dear friend, and he is the only speaker, is the repeat speaker since the time we have started this Thursday flagship lectures. You would have heard him on number of occasions on Atmanirbharta, indigenization, and so many wide-ranging subjects. Because he was the one who conceived and implemented Army Design Bureau as its first head in Indian Army. It was not existing. While his credentials are going to be given by Dr. Maj Das, but suffice here to say that the award which is normally given to the Lieutenant Generals and the chiefs of the PVSM, he has been decorated with that, and it is because of his outstanding performance at the national level. So without much ado, because I have unlimited words for his praise, he is a very dear friend. I will request Dr. Manojit Das to introduce the speaker, because the subject which he is going to touch today is very important. He will explain what is the concept of innovation, which is typically needed in the Indian Defence Forces. We just have had absolute, which is still continuing. There is a pause, but while we have done very well, but it does call for lot of capability development and preparedness, wherein innovation is also going to contribute in a big way. So today he will take us to the various contours of innovation, and we are all keen, and we will draw axes. Over to you, Manojit.
Greetings, sir. So, given the highly illustrious career and the questions you have, kindly pardon before in case I miss it and mentioning here. So, Maj Gen AK Channan, sir, is an artillery officer who has led Indian Army's Make in India initiative since the inception in 2014. As the Additional Director General, Perspective Planning at the Army Headquarters, he conceived, created, and he was the first head of Army Design Bureau. Since he was a single point of engagement for agencies, and he involved academia, industry, startup, and the foreign entities for the defense technology for the first time. And post superannuation, the general officer was a principal advisor to the Minister of Defense and continues to be visiting faculty at the MDC, IIMI, CLAWS, CENJOWS, where he works in the area of unleashing the potential for futuristic technologies of defense architecture. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for the kind words, and Dr. Manojit. I am really considering myself very fortunate that I have been given this opportunity by the DG CENJOWS to speak a couple of times on subjects that I hold very dearly to my heart, and I feel that these are subjects that one needs to, actually put across to more and more people, so that this entire mission of trying to create a strong indigenous ecosystem is actually propagated to a large number of stakeholders who understand the spirit and therefore are able to put it across. The second issue that I wanted to, since a couple of times the Army Design Bureau has been mentioned, I wanted to highlight was the fact that as I sit here, when I started the what is today, a wonderful organization being led by very able people. When I started the Army Design Bureau, we actually started from a room which is smaller than this, and actually was a store, and we just put things aside and started. But the thought, the mission, the positiveness of all the team was there to make it grow and grow in the right direction. And therefore, the lesson or the point that I wanted to bring across is that irrespective of, you know, uh, the humility in which you sit, if your ideas are strong and if there is that zeal, you can always prevail. The second point that I wanted to highlight before starting my presentation, again, it's compliments to all of you, especially the DG, is that, while everybody is having these kind of talks, lectures, and some kind of value additions, I noticed that the CENJOWS is going particularly strong in the direction of, focusing on technology and new age warfare, which I think is very, very important and need of the hour. I have a small presentation which we could catch as we go along, just help understand things a little better. Okay. Yeah, thank you. So, essentially, we will talk of innovation. My aim is not to get into, specific cases and things like that. Today, I will probably just give a broad overview of innovation. I personally feel it's a subject that is badly ignored, least understood, and even less, if you don't understand something, you're not able to kind of drive it in the right direction. So we are moving on a path which we think is innovation, but actually, innovation encompasses much more than that. So this will generally be a very generic talk. And there is a lot that can happen in specific areas, but that requires probably a big session by itself. So the Indian quest for, building a scientific temper and creating a republic which is built on one of the four pillars of science and technology started way back in 1958 when we had something called the Scientific Policy Resolution. It was essentially, we were a new nation. There was very little, and so we wanted to bring a scientific temper into the larger population as such. So that is how this document was built. It's a very interesting document. It's a small document. It's 10, 11 pages. This document lived on for 25 years. When in 1983, we revised it and now called it the Technology Policy Statement. And here, from just building the technological temper or scientific temper, we actually, from science, we moved on to technology. So technology is actually the application of basic principles of science. So that is how it took us 25 years to move from scientific temper to technological relevance. Thereafter, within 20 years, we had revised the science and technology policy. And here we now started focusing on research and development, design and development, etc. This document was released in 2003. 10 years down the line, we had the science, technology, and innovation policy. And mind you, in 2013, the first time the word innovation was included. So, which simply meant that there is enough of technology lying around. How you actually deploy the technology to build novel products through innovative means has also found place in this document, a place of relevance. And in 2020, the latest version came out, which is, now not only focusing on innovation, but also having a very strong thrust on in-house innovation, which means within India, how do we nurture and grow this system? What I put on top actually is a very interesting thing. Look how science has started capturing the mind space or our daily lives. While between the first and second policy, it was 25 years, now these policies are coming out, in much shorter intervals. And I believe the next one is ready to be launched in this year itself. So these are the relevance of the document keeps on shortening as newer things come in between. So I will just probably show you a slide of what does this STIP 2020. It has four major objectives. It talks about self-reliance in a big way. We are no longer going to be technological slaves. which means that we will get technologies from anywhere, put them together and build things. It has two problems. The first problem is when you get technology from elsewhere and build, you get a technology at a point in time. And therefore, I use the term technology standstill. Means if today somebody tells me how to make a bicycle, he will keep developing the bicycle into much more superior form. But since I have bought it at this time, I will continue to make this bicycle, and the gap between me and the guy who's actually putting R&D will keep on increasing. So self-reliance in technology is important to keep pace with the world around you. Second is attract, nurture, strengthen. And the word retain was introduced this time. The critical human capital. Otherwise, we have all heard of the brain drain, etc. We always were good at things. But because of certain policies or lack of it, we were finding that best of our brains were actually being utilized to build capabilities elsewhere. The third, obviously, there is a commercial or economic angle to it. And the fourth is to get global recognition, to be sitting on the high table. So before I go into the subject proper, I really want to, explain the concept of innovation. Invention is actually creating a new product. So there are so many definitions floating around, but I've just picked up one. The initial creation of a product or introduction of a new process, marking its first occurrence, is invention. The essential point is the moment there is an invention, there is a scope for innovation. Understand? Innovation, on the other hand, involves implementation of an idea or an existing product, technology, or process. I will give you a very small example. I carry two telephones, mobiles with me. This is a Samsung. All of you are familiar with this kind of mobile. And this is an Apple. Now, out of these two, which product is a technology product and which product is an innovation? Anybody? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I differ from Samsung is technology product and innovation is Apple.
So you're right. You know, this phone is 5 years old. It has a folding screen in it. That's technology. Apple still has not, but I am sure 5 years down the line, they will build a folding phone. Every feature that was introduced in Samsung, whether it is dual camera, this triple camera, dual SIM, has come a good 5 years before it came to Apple. Second thing, I mean, again, experiences will differ, but which is a more popular or a more desirable product out of these two? iPhone. Everybody wants an iPhone. Why iPhone? Because this guy builds technologies, but this guy innovates products using these technologies. I must also tell you that the screen on every Apple phone is actually supplied by Samsung. So he builds the technologies, but he does the innovation. And therefore, as a user, the user experience that comes across is much better here. But when I say this, I may be held to question. It doesn't mean that he builds all the technologies and he does only innovation. There are so many technologies that he also builds. And there are some innovation that he also does. But largely, this is, if I were to say which is a technology product, this is, and which is an innovation of putting the best technologies together in a very, very, synchronized manner, then you will find that the Apple would be a very, very highly innovative. So I think that explain the difference between invention and innovation in an easy manner. Of course, there is a brief overlap between invention and innovation where you have innovative inventions, which happens as you go along the way. But largely, innovation space feeds from the invention area. And the good part in innovation space is that the percentage of success is much higher than in an inventive space, because inventive space, 2 or 3% success is a very good. Whereas innovation, this probably goes up to 8, 9, 10%, even more as we improve. So, what is the definition of innovation? This is one of the most interesting definitions, and this has been actually, I culled it out from that STIP 2020. It says innovation is a process for incremental or significant technical advance or change, which provides enhancement of measurable value. So there are 3-4 issues. It can either be incremental or it could be significant. It has to be incremental, it has to be significant, and it has to be measurable or tangible in its system. And it has to enhance your day-to-day, whatever activity you are doing. Implementing new or improved products, services, implementing new or improved operational processes, implementing new organizational managerial structure. So innovation, because in our narrow thing we think of just a product or a some physical thing on ground, actually that's just a very small part of innovation. Innovation can happen in products, which we see most often, or which is where we confine our complete definition to. But it is also in services. Look at Zomato, Swiggy, whatever this ePay, GPay, whatever. These are all innovations, but these are in the space of services. Then in processes, and finally in organizational structures also you can innovate, and you can metamorphose organization. Wipro, if you see the full form of Wipro, it was a vegetable oil company. Look at how that organization is totally metamorphosed itself. And now it's one of the big AI and software giants in India. So, as we saw from the definition, innovation essentially will lead to creation of a new technology, products, and process. It will not create or invent something new as far as the base technology or the base concept is concerned, but it will generate ideas how to skillfully, how to, in very unique manners, employ existing things, or put together 2 or 3 to create 2 plus 2 is equal to 5 or a larger this thing. In real terms, innovation must lead to 1 or more of these 3 things or 4 things. Either it should increase your market share. You see, innovation is not used in defense alone. It's a concept which is used across the entire, gamut of things. So it must either increase your market share, or it should give a significant performance advantage, or it should result in a better quality at a lower, or it should lead to a lower cost. Sometimes it may do all 4, sometimes it may do 2 or 3, but this is what it needs to do. I think as far as the defense innovation part, as far as innovation, I have spoken enough. And I think if there is any doubt, I can stop here, then we'll move to defense innovations. Anybody? So now, let me talk of what are the kinds of innovations that are available. When we started, or when you came here and sat down for this talk, or when I started my journey many years back, I never imagined that all this innovation was just a word that I used. In fact, it was more of an English word before the true meaning came. But look at the kind of innovation that is available, product innovation, process innovation. We've discussed that. Open innovation, sustainable, social, digital, technology, computing, disruptive, incremental, service, blah, blah, blah. Tell me honestly, did you know that innovation actually encompasses so many different types? I'll try and explain just a little bit here. What's a product in innovation? Whenever there is a product in which functionality, performance, user experience gets enhanced, you generally call it a product. Any of these things happen. This is not comprehensive, I'm just trying to give examples. Process innovations are all based on increasing efficiencies, outputs, reducing costs, etc. Business model innovations are actually for the people who fund innovations because they want to bring value to their systems. So they will do things like Hindustan Liver and Procter and Gamble will keep innovating how to, hit the market better and all. By strategically branding products, bringing all that is basically in the business model innovation space. Service innovations are all towards user convenience. You just ring and a sandwich comes. You just scan a QR code and some money gets transferred out of your bank. So these are all based on user conveniences. Thereafter, open innovation. This is actually the space at which we are now heading, which the government is putting a lot of emphasis on. Open innovation means that innovation is not hostage to people who are practitioners. You need to involve larger brains in this system. So our open innovation architecture largely means that as a military, I'm also inviting the industry to participate in my innovative ventures. I'm inviting the IITs and academic institutions to join in. So I'm creating an environment of open innovation. I throw out problem statements. I receive different kinds of, I put out challenges. I fund people in small amounts here and there. These days, all innovation, people have suddenly started realizing that we have been exploiting the environment in a big way. The planet is not able to resuscitate itself as fast as we are depleting it. So every innovation has a very strong element of environmental innovation. There are specific projects launched towards sustainable innovation. For example, people are building cups and spoons which after finishing your meal they are degradable. Somebody is making this thing that you can finish and you can eat the thing away. And those kinds. You would have seen videos on a railway station. Somebody has put some planks and you keep walking, some dynamo keeps charging electricity. So these are all ways and means in which we are trying to make sure that the environment is sustained. And a lot of innovation is happening. In fact, that is the largest space in which. Then there is social innovation, which tries to bring the communities together, bring inclusivity, well-being, etc. So, these are not really the digital innovation, technology innovation is what we are speaking, or we will be speaking even beyond this. Computing innovation, these same computers now you're getting much more out of it through quantum computing, through artificial intelligence and algorithms. There are two aspects to innovation. One is continuous or incremental, which means you continuously keep improving things as they go along. Now, when you get iPhone 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, this is continuous innovation, or rather incremental, as they call it. Disruptive innovation is there is something called some phone called nobody or nothing or something like that, who has come and he's challenging this fellow. So that is disruptive, and he's come at a very different price point. And he's come with features, some of them that exceed this. So, which challenges existing any of these norms is disruptive by nature. So this is how it is. I'll give you a few examples in the next slide. All of these examples you are aware of. So just see, EVs have come with probably sustainable innovation. Airbnb is essentially a business model innovation. 3D printing, SpaceX, reusable spacecrafts, Paytm, Netflix. To see how they have disrupted the existing thing. This Netflix and all have killed the culture of cinema going, people are watching at home, etc. I mean, this list could be huge. I'll just put some names here, some global and some Indian as well. All these are products of innovation. None of them have built a technology on their own. Technologies were existing. They have merely harnessed technologies and put best efficiency into the system with the aim to actually achieve a particular objective. So coming back to my slide, so much for innovation. Let's move ahead and talk of defense innovation. Now, defense innovation is something that you use primarily to enhance your military capabilities. Now, what are the, apart from those 3-4 things that I wrote on top, for defense, what are the specific things that we have? Firstly, defense innovation is always a hard innovation. Secondly, it will always aim to give you a decisive, strategic, or tactical advantage. And these days, innovations are also meant to create low-cost, highly efficient, indigenous equivalents of what we were, paying a heavy price. Now, obviously, the question is, what is hard innovation? Can anybody hazard a guess? What is hard innovation?
Measurable and quantifiable, sir?
Okay. So basically, this is another loose kind of a statement that people use. But people do refer to soft innovation and hard innovation. It is not really the most proper term. But to be very honest, it is used pretty widely. A soft innovation is something that does not, that only improves the ergonomics. It makes it look better, it makes it feel better, it makes you get a better experience as far as the thing is concerned. Whereas hard innovation does not go into the ergonomics or the softer side of products. Hard innovation is purely based on functionality, getting better functionality. So obviously in the military, we do not, have flair, or probably we do not have that space for, doing things in a fancy manner. So here, all innovation will essentially be in the space of hard innovation. Functionality, performance, results, outcomes. Okay. As I said, even in defense, we will have two types of innovations, incremental and disruptive. Incremental will largely be continuous, be evolutionary. And when we speak of innovation, we largely talk of incremental innovation in defense. A user, a practitioner, somebody in an AD regiment, in an infantry battalion, wherever he's sitting in a, Air Force unit and stuff, will largely try and make an incremental. He will have a product, he will try to. Disruptive innovation will, I honestly say this as a personal opinion, but I believe in it. Disruptive innovation will come from fresh minds who are unattached to the organization of it. It will be radical, it will probably revolutionize the way. Some examples, I mean, just to give, what are in warfare, what will lead, incremental innovation will lead to what? It can lead to increase in lethality. You see, bigger bombs, more TNT, longer ranges, more effect, etc. It can increase a huge level of transparency. on the battlefield, etc. You're able to look through the night, you're able to see, look deep, or able to look through, all kinds of this thing, etc. It will informationalize the environment. The traditional will do this. It will give you logistic agility and be able to move faster, you'll be able to put things quicker, you'll have algorithms, you'll have places, you'll have transportation models, etc. All this falls in the area of incremental or traditional innovation. Now, when we talk of disruptive innovation will actually tend to disrupt the existing way of doing things. So it will massively increase the range, volume, and velocity of information coming at you. Informationalization in a graduated manner is one part, but if I'm able to totally manipulate the range, the volume, the velocity, even the integrity of information, that is disruptive. It will actually, from putting a lot of information, it will now actually lead to intelligence and cognitive kind of, managing and processing of the information towards outcomes. It will actually make the weaker stronger, or at least it will create asymmetries. If physically I am stronger than him, maybe on the computer he will be much stronger than me. So these cyber and physical asymmetries will get magnified through these innovations. Obviously, it will handle multi-domains at the same time. Otherwise, our mind is basically, or our innovation ecosystem, either is working in the cyber domain or in the physical domain, but this one will actually work in multi-domain at the same time. It will be very agile, so it will generate solutions on the spot. The moment there is a problem, there will be a solution will come along with it. And compared, and with the tools that you have at your innovative materials are available, 3D printing is available, rapid prototyping concepts are available, 3D modeling is available, etc., etc. You will be able not only to create solutions on the spot, you will be able to deliver solutions on the spot and probably utilize them in a very quick time. So, as all this happens, as the disruptive things start coming in, the largest contribution they will have is that they will create an era of contested equality or contested inequality, whichever way you want to take it. What are the larger things that I wanted to speak about when we talk of defense? With innovation coming, and when I speak, I don't speak of the Indian military, I speak of militaries at large. It is blurring the tactical strategic, that gap or that graduated move or differentiation between tactical operational strategy. It is blurring all those lines. Today, a small action somewhere will have ramification in the strategic level. The strategic action can have a tactical ramification. Ultimately, what happened in Pahalgam 3 weeks back was, at the end of the day, a tactical action, military action, or executed by non-state actors or whatever, but it is a tactical action. But look at the strategic ramifications that it has led. So what I'm basically trying to say is today innovation has the potential to blur these lines. Accuracy and precision and other technological things combined with it have the capacity to make you fight clean military operations with no collateral damages at all. The battlefield and larger networking capabilities have increased manifolds. In fact, the structured channels as well as the unstructured channels, which are social media, VPN, virtual private networks, etc., are also contributing to these network capabilities. All are based on innovative. As you see, innovation has led to a very, very strong element of unmanned or non-contact kind of battle that is being in the current scenario also. You would have noticed that not a man crossed, and yet we had waged a war. It has challenges as far as decision making is concerned because so much is coming at you. How much of it is correct? How much of it is false? So you need to have huge, data management resources at your command before you are able to arrive. It is leading towards autonomy because today we have the wherewithal. When you go into the non-contact or the unmanned space, then autonomy by various degrees also starts entering into the system. I already covered that innovative materials, manufacturing techniques, and that robustness, weight, quick prototyping, high speed of manufacturing. You're able to actually, that typical logistic chain has been really cut down. I am going to take 2 minutes here. And this is actually a very interesting study, which if anybody is interested, it's a very good study. I read it about a couple of years back. So world over, and this is by BCG, Boston Consultancy Group, this study was in 2022. This study was commissioned by Munich Security Conference, which is going to be one of the biggest military thought event in the world. So in the MSc, they commissioned Boston Consultancy Group to talk about, to study innovation, how it is being put across in the militaries. The report is very exhaustive. There are so many other things which are connected. Probably in question answer, we can take a couple of them. But largely, you see, it has said that it actually studied 59 militaries in the world, had interaction with the MODs, and thereafter, after very detailed interaction, it has come out with. It has put the innovations of various MODs into 5 categories. There are creators and expanders, largely China, Russia, US. Now, what do the creators and expanders do? They actually launch big projects, hypersonics, hyperloop, all kinds of next generation combat vehicle, opposed piston engines. So they go for big bet projects. They will actually pour a lot of money into their system. There is significant investment both from the public as well as the private sector. And the outcomes that they bring to the table actually redefine the entire doctrinal concepts across the world as far as the militaries are concerned. Then there are solution builders. These solution builders, of course, he has named some countries which are probably the next rung countries in the NATO landscape. Australia, Austria, Canada, France, South Africa, South Korea. Here you see, they are actually not doing the next generation stuff. They are having very close linkages with the users. They understand the need and they build high quality products, innovative products, basically, which are focused on immediate, induction into the frontline troops. So this, they are the ones which give very high sense of satisfaction to the user. They have a very quick mind to market cycle, and naturally they require very high degree of insights with the people who will be the ultimate users of the product. The third category of innovation comes to fast adopters. Now, India actually falls in this category, and there are others around this. These are people who basically do not actually spend much money into this system, or the ecosystem between the user and the ultimate innovator is not a mature system. So it is, something that is happening a little bit. So these are the guys who are basically looking around at the first two and picking up some good model and trying to implement them in there. So if the US had something called the DIUX, so we made an IDEX here. If they were doing something, we started replicating it here. But they were doing it with a lot of money into the system. They have a very mature system in which funding is possible. Their bureaucracy has matured to a level in which, fail fast, fail quick happens. Those are levels. So while you can put a IDEX here, the bureaucracy still of the mindset that every money there should be bills which should be attached. And पिछले वाले का क्या हुआ, आगे का. So all those things have to come into play. Till that time, they will only tailor and scale best practice from here and there. They will be very agile. If something fails, they will move on to the next thing. They are still trying to kind of find their feet. The good part is that these fast adopters are continuously at it. So they will continuously come at it, which is a little different from, the fifth one that I will talk about, the specialists. But these guys are trying to kind of look at everything everywhere. Then next is the deployers. So this is essentially the part, all the innovation actually is courtesy them. Because these are the guys who lead the acquisition of products. So while he innovates, these are the guys who will ultimately utilize it. They buy, aggregate technologies from here there, but their focus is very clear. They are going to actually focus on the end product and the ultimate deployment of it in whichever manner. Then there are specialists. And mind you, these specialists are the ones who decided right from the beginning that they would, rather than going across like the fast adopter, they will only go for certain limited domains. For example, Hungary sometime back used to be the best as far as EW equipment was concerned. Sweden for the vehicles and the guns. And like that, you can mention Israel. So these were countries which actually focused on few products, but they gained leadership in that few domains. And therefore, in those few domains, they actually command the innovation space. So these are the kind of models across the world. This is not my theory. This is a report, one of the most interesting reports that I have ever read in my life.
What is multiple and Pakistan featured in that? If I may.
Means he actually, multiple is, he is moving across.
And in the same league, you have put in Japan. So that my contention.
No, because Japan actually is not doing anything in the defense space. This is specific. No, actually this is all in the defense space. वो ऊपर लिखा है, वो छुप रहा है, range of MOD strategies. So actually people who are, trying to, these days a lot of innovation that happens in defense also is dual use. So people who are just picking here and there probably will come in that area. And actually these are countries which really are just picking up a broader use. Yeah, no, but I agree with you. Maybe a little more needs to be gone into this. So coming to defense innovation one more time. When we started this Army Design Bureau, the concept was, and now all services have innovation organizations doing very well, the Navy, Air Force, everything. The concept was to actually start a culture of innovation. When we spoke of this culture of innovation, as I said, you need to very diverse talent sets. The senior lot will provide the leadership and the vision. But unfortunately, they cannot be practitioners of innovation because they have been part of an organization for too long. And therefore, the organization has become part of their thinking culture. So they will largely try and be conformists to existing concepts, etc. The young minds will have a much broader spectrum. They are obviously grown up in a different era than whatever it is. They look at things in a very different manner, and that is where the creativity and the ideas will. So, how do we create a culture of innovation where the decision making and the leadership lies with people who do not understand and think they fully understand, who do not understand but think they fully understand the concept of innovation, and the people who actually have a very fertile mind but do not have the wherewithal or the time and other to actually put innovation into practice. So how do we bring all of this together? So the thought at that stage came that we will probably need to create organizations which are set apart from the routine and are only meant to, further the innovation space. And to make sure that they do not continuously keep falling back into the system, we created institutional, setups like technology boards, technology development funds, IDEX, etc. And also created these accelerators in IITs as well as in the public private space like Forge, like T-Hub, etc. These kind of accelerators came up to create opportunities so that all this creation can happen without duplication of effort. The two parts on the right, which still kind of remain, I would say, a little sore points. One is the user involvement. Irrespective of it, all innovation is pure optics. There is really not the kind of user involvement which you saw in that second stage there, the deployers. Their user involvement is very big. They are sitting there and getting things made. And neither is there the concept of scouting and mentoring the right way. All the mentorship is labored, it is in spare time, as I say, and it is basically with the larger intent of feeding the bigger optical channel and not the outcome channel. So I will kind of finish here. I will not really cover this, firstly because of lack of time, and secondly, this actually goes into a deeper, but very, very quickly, you see, innovation has to have a proper policy. It has to be integrated across 3 services and across all domains. It has to have a long-term vision, it has to be a mid-term vision, and it has to be an immediate short-term vision. The short-term, you largely look at products, improvement, product improvement, etc. with and try to do innovation on already existing mature solution to get better efficiencies. In the middle term, you look at emerging threats as they come. And therefore, you are actually trying to get products which are already there, support them into maturation. So that the people who are in that field, their risk is, lowered and they are able to kind of support. Now, in this recent episode that occurred, you would have found that something that was started 5-7 years back, which was in that midterm goal that we should have counter UAS, we should have some UAVs, we should have some, loiter munitions, etc., has actually reached some level of maturation, and that is what actually came to the fore when we started. A long-term vision has to come. Is not there something that I honestly would ask, the DG to look at? Because let me tell you, if there is somebody who can really give thought to it, it's him. And you really have to firstly find which way are we heading, and there identify the gaps and focus all innovative effort towards that. Okay, so this is absolutely a few thoughts that I will leave you with. Innovation has to be integrated, all services doing small things here and there, which are largely problem statements, not innovations, is not really the best, or the most efficient way to harness the effort and the resources that we have. You have to do, as I said, as you move to mid. I mean, somebody thought of things like loiter munitions 7, 8 years back. It was laughable proposition at that stage. I have gone, I am just saying this, and pleaded to people, RPA, loiter munition. Everybody felt that when we have artillery, when we have, we need. But just lay low, please, just for the sake of it. And gradually, that is how it enters. It finds everything requires this thing. So we need to have this going. We can't just be, people pushing things. It can't happen. If you leave it to the vendors, they will probably do it to their commercial advantage. So there has to be a sense and a method that has to come into this. There has to do that. There has to be technology foresight. We have laid out fixed plans, 10 years, 15 years. Now there has to be flexibility because technology is not hosted to 5-year, 10-year plans. It will keep coming in a very disruptive manner. So should your plans keep getting, disrupted, or they should get. Our scouting mechanism is very, it's poor. It is plagued with, all kinds of things. And the worst thing is that we are so involved in today that we have outsourced most of it. IIT ko de diya, usko de diya. They do it. So they do it the way they understand it the best. Now, academic institution has no commercial relevance in mind. So most of the time, whenever they come up with anything, it does make a business case. The business guys have no, gut to invest in R&D. They are actually looking at business and more business. So these kind of things happen. The 3 things specific to innovation that I want to leave behind is, one is a plug-in mechanism. The moment I find something and I like it, or I have mentored, or I have created, or I suddenly find a disruptive thing coming my way, there should be a way in which I should quickly plug it in and take it onboard it into my, system. The second is financial slack. These things cannot follow budgets. Some things can happen. You set out a budget of X amount, it will happen in 1/10 of that. Sometimes it will take 10 times the money because you don't know which way things will happen. So you cannot have very rigid allocations. All this will work in financial slack and a very strong process ability. You set about doing something else, but unintendedly something better came out of it, or something totally diverse from your intended outcome. You should be sharp enough to pick it up and then use it to its better advantage. So as far as next, the thing is concerned, that is all I want to speak about innovation. I tried to cover generic aspects in a nutshell. It's a very interesting subject. It runs very deep. And I hope that this is a subject more and more people take and understand. And I also hope, I'm saying this with genuine hope, that when you started, the word innovation meant something to you, and when we finish, probably it means something much bigger. I just hope I've been able to achieve that understanding of your direction. Thank you very much.